Hello and welcome to Cinnabar Collectibles, and today we're going to be looking at how we can improve the Charizard EX deck in the new Prismatic Evolutions era. Now, if you're like me and you picked up the Charizard Battle League deck, this is the video for you. Charizard has now fallen out of favour with a lot of players, especially with the rise of Dragapult and Budew. Budew locks you out from being able to use any of her items, which makes the Charizard deck pretty tricky to use, especially with its reliance on rare candies. But today, we'll be looking at a way of getting around that pesky Budew. So let's get into the video. So let's have a little look at what we're going to need for this deck. So I'm going to have 3 Charmanders from Obsidian Flames or Paldean Fates, wherever you got your Charmanders from, they are the same card. Then you need 2 Charmeleons with Flame Veil. And the reason I've gone for 2 instead of 1 like I did in my last video is because now with Budew, who can put us potentially into item lock, we need ways of getting around that. So I've gone for 2 Charmeleons to hopefully avoid that pesky Budew. Then I'm going to be rocking out with 2 Charizard EXs, and I've gone for the shiny one just for a little bit of added bling. Then I've got my 2 Pidgeys, and I've gone for the Obsidian Flames version for the 60 HP to avoid the Dusclops range, so hopefully these guys can live. Now I've got a Pidgeotto. Now I didn't have this in my last unboxing video where I did a little review of the deck. This I have included, again, to avoid that rare candy use all the time, and there's a little hint as to what I'm going to be using in this deck from having these 2 Stage 1 cards. And I've also got 2 Pidgeot EX. Now these, if you can get into these, I find that I've got a lot more control in the game. I can literally pick a card, any card out of my deck every turn with this. An incredibly powerful card. Then I've got 2 Duskulls for the Duskull line. There's my 1 Dusclops and my 1 Dusknoir, so those guys can blow up and do some damage. Now, we're still using some Vs. These guys will rotate out in April, but you don't always have to worry about rotation. While they're here, use them and enjoy them. So I've got my Rotom V that lets me draw 3 cards, which will end my turn with instant charge, but a very, very strong card. I've then got Pheasantipede with its amazing flip the script ability. If anything gets knocked out, I can then draw 3 cards on my next turn. And then you have to be rocking with Radiant Charizard. Again, I've only got a couple more months to use this, but I'm definitely going to keep including him while I can. And then I've got Lumineon V to let me search out for any supporter from my deck. And now we get on to the supporters and trainer cards. So I'm going to be having 4 Arven in this deck. Very important to help me get an item and a tool. Then I'm going to be using 2 Ionos, 2 Boss's Orders to help me gust up some of my opponent's Pokemon, 1 Professor's Churro scenario to let me get rid of one of my Pokemon on the board. I'm also going to be playing Briar. If my opponent has just 2 prize cards remaining, I get to take an extra prize. This is really clutch in the end game, if you can pull it off. Thornton. Choose a basic Pokemon from my discard pile and switch it one of my basic Pokemon in play. This is great for getting rid of your Lumineon V or your Rotom V, and then you can get straight back into another Charizard. Now this is a bit controversial, but I've gone with 3 Ultra Balls. It'd be nice to get the 4th in, but I've just gone for 3 now to allow me a little bit of space in the deck. And then I've also got 3 Nest Balls as well that I'm going to be using in this deck. And just like normal, I've gone for 4 Buddy Poffins. I've gone for 2 Super Rods, because in this deck, if I'm losing my Charizards and my energy, I need a way of getting them back into my deck, and this is how I'm going to do it. I've gone for 1 Counter Catch instead of 2, which lets me gust up on my opponent's Pokemon if I'm behind on prizes. And then again, another controversial pick with this deck, but I'm going to go with 3 Rare Candies, giving myself a little bit of space for some other trainer cards, but you'll see why in a moment. And now I'm rocking a Temple of Sinnoh. Now that's mainly because of in all the tournaments I go to in the league challenges, there's a few Lugia decks. So this is mainly for those guys. I'm also going to be playing 1 Night Stretcher, 1 Last Vacuum. Especially useful if I'm going up against some Terrapagos EX decks. I use this on Area 0. Next minute, instead of having 8 bench Pokemon, they're down to 4. And they're never happy about it. I've got 1 Energy Search, and again you'll see why in a second. My ace spec of choice this time round is the Prime Catcher. which lets me switch my opponent's Pokemon, and I have to switch my own as well. Great if you've got something trapped in the active. And then we get to our first tool. I've gone for the Forest Seal Stone, which lets me choose any card from my deck by using the Star Alchemy ability. That's your V-Star power. Next up, we're going to be playing 2 Technical Machine Evolutions, and this will be how we're trying to get around Budew. If it's got as an item lock, we're going to use this attack to evolve 2 Pokemon on our bench. Again, so that we don't have to use those rare candies. So this will hopefully come in pretty clutch. And then to finish it off, I have 5 Fire Energies. Now here I have some honourable mentions. If you can fit it in, here is a 6th Fire Energy. That gives you a little bit more chance of being able to use that TM evolution. Also, if you can, see if you can fit in a 2nd Counter Catcher. I'd love to, but I just can't quite find space for it. Again, if you can fit in the 4th Rare Candy, gives you a little bit more consistency yet again. I quite like the idea of Pal Pad, but I still just can't quite squeeze it into the deck. And controversially, I've taken out my Defiance Band, which lets me hit for 30 extra damage if I'm behind on prizes, but at the moment, not quite getting into the deck. You might still need to use Cancelling Cologne if in your area lots of people are using Stone Mask Ogopon, but for now, it's come out of the deck. You might want to see if you can fit in another Nest Ball, or Ultra Ball into the deck, and finally, depending on where you play, you might want to use Collapse Stadium. And so that is my Charizard EX deck, which I'm hoping to take to my next league challenge over the weekend. I'm hoping we'll get on pretty well. Similar sort of decks in Japan have been winning actually, so I'm hoping that I can sort of get a little bit of that luck that those guys have been able to do and come out quite well. So wish me luck, come on Charizard, let's see if we can do the business. Thank you for watching Cinnabar Collectibles. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And we hope to see you in the next video. Thank you, good night.